Hey, before I start the video, I just want to say that from now on, I am going to clarify that my percentages, I'm not going to say that that is like my grade for them. I'm now going to clarify that my percentage that I give for each album is my enjoyment level. So when I do get to that part, you'll hear me say it. But I just want to clarify because, of course, my reviews are just my opinion. So I don't want it to seem like what I'm giving is like my grade on it. It's just how much I enjoy whatever it is that I'm reviewing. And that goes for things I have reviewed in the past. It's just something I wanted to clarify in my videos from now on. So yeah, thank you for watching and enjoy the review. Hello, and welcome to my newest review. This is going to be of Icecoldbishop's debut album, Generational Curse. Icecoldbishop is a new rap artist to explode onto the scene, and he hails from LA, but he carries a sound of his own. While yes, he does follow into the trap lane of modern day rap, he brings his own flavor to each song that he makes. At first glance, you might think that each song on Generational Curse is your typical gangster rap music, but it's all so much more. Bishop shows what is actually an unspoken horror of growing up in poverty and gang-raided neighborhoods, and shows it to the masses at large. While other artists have sort of kind of done this, I feel like he really shows the aggression and the anger that comes from growing up in this horrible state, and I feel like it's quite a sight to behold. And while many artists glorify it and make it seem like this is like the life to be living, the gang life, Icecoldbishop shows that this is the worst situation that someone could be caught into. On songs like Full Fledged, I mean, he raps about in detail the shootings going on, but yet he isn't sure why it's all happening, with the lines of him saying, "Victims of a genocide, but brothers ride. Why do we die? I don't really know, but I'm still load up and hop out and lay down. I don't really know, but I'm full-fledged with it." Basically, I mean, hearing this is kind of heartbreaking. It's him saying, like, yeah, I don't really know why we're doing this. I don't know why we're going out and killing each other and doing all this stuff, but I'm going to do it anyways because, like, that's what everyone else is doing. And, I mean, this is just all stuff that builds towards the title of Generational Curse. I mean, this is him just basically saying, you know, people get so caught up in the gang life that you don't even know what you're fighting for anymore, and Bishop shows that he feels the same way here. He also expresses later on in the song, "My cousin died 10 years ago and it's still shocking. My daddy died back in 94 and we still crying. Gang banging 50 years old and we still dying." I mean, another heartbreaking lyric just from the first track alone on the album, and it doesn't get much easier from here on. Each song has lines like this, and it's really just hammers in the sort of lifestyle that's going on. Later on in the track list, we get another very dark song with "The Government Gave Us Guns." Here, Bishop is talking about the mass amount of weapons that end up in these neighborhoods that he grew up in, and it's by fault of the government by putting them there and to get these people to all basically become violent and hostile towards one another. It's a subject that has been brought up many times, but it's still heartbreaking and shocking to hear, especially when it's so aggressively spoken here. It really hammers in basically the end result of it all, of these weapons ending up into civilian hands. We then have Dare, which of course talks about the drug epidemic and how it gets into the hands of such young kids who of course shouldn't be around it, but how it also so deeply affects by it, and how they think it's okay because they see all of their elders and peers getting into this stuff. With the line that's repeated throughout saying, "I've been daring to be different, but these drugs are in my way," repeated over and over in the track, you get the sense of the people in these situations, how they don't want to fall into the same bad habits and they don't want to get into these drugs, but it's hard not to when this is all they're surrounded by. I mean, their family, friends, you know, peers, schoolmates, whatever, they're all doing this stuff, so it's hard for them not to get into it. You know, they feel the urge and the pressure to do the same. The song features a very minimal instrumental in the start that feels very dark and nocturnal, but before getting more intense in the later half. It really makes you feel every word that Bishop says, and it has a great vocal delivery throughout the song. I love the higher pitched voice that he does here, which it almost like is reminiscent of Elmo. I don't know any like other way to describe it. I know a lot of artists have, you know, their different vocal tones that they do, but his is like I like call it in my head like the Elmo voice because it sounds a lot like that. But he does it throughout the project, and I really like how he controls it here. And I think on this track it is one of the best performances of that. Dare also flows perfectly into the next track called Focus, which is much more of a fun song with a heavy, funky bass line bumping throughout the whole way. Unfortunately, even in a lighter setting like this, Bishop still tells us that even here we can't escape the gang life, and even at a house party, people are still paranoid and on edge, and you know they're supposed to be like at a worry-free place. This is supposed to be like a fun moment. You're at a house party, you're having fun, and you still can't even do that. And it all leads and builds up into a shootout at the end of the track, and then we have a skit at the very end, which tells us basically how we got to that point of being at a house party that got shut up, with the shooters of someone being, related to someone at the party who shot someone else, and basically they did it for revenge, as it happens. The events here get followed up again in Last Night, where we get more causes of the vicious cycle, with the quote saying, "Have you ever lost your brother right in front of you? That's what them bullets in that throwaway gun'll do. Coping with that pain off that liquor because it's 100 proof, loading up the blower, finna round up 100 troops." Again, it's just Bishop really hammering in to the audience that this is that vicious cycle, and you know, someone dies, you go out, you drink, you get revenge, kill someone. Then same thing happens on their side. They go out, they drink, go out, get revenge, someone dies, cycle over and over again, which leads to the generational curse. It just never ends for them. A bad influence from my uncle is just another perfect example, as stated before, of the causes of the cycle that Bishop is saying, that even his family is affected by these traumas of drug and violence. The second part of the song is really one of the darkest moments on the entire LP, with the beat becoming much more sinister and him presumably telling a real story about his cousin who got killed and his family having to watch the footage of it and basically them wanting revenge on the killer. I mean, seeing that, I can't even imagine how traumatizing it would be to see that from a family member, and it's really just a super dark moment on the album. I do really like the dogs barking at the very end of the track. It really adds this sinister atmosphere after him saying "we gonna kill them all" over and over again. It really rang with me like when I first listened. That outro was like really haunting and really powerful, and this is definitely one of the most I would say moving tracks on the entire album. It's, as I said, super dark, super sinister, and really heavy of a track. Overall, this album is really great. To me, the only low point I would say would be on the last track, Cursed. While I think the Bishop has some stellar vocal performances, I'm just not personally a huge fan of the vocals on the very end of the track. Like the last, I think it's like 30, maybe not even like 20 seconds. The song as a whole is quite a fitting ending to the project, where you feel his anger kind of building and building and building throughout the entire album, and then this final track is him sort of exploding and he's like yelling and screaming, but just the vocals on the end I'm not a huge fan of, but I do think it is a really good closer. I'm just not a huge fan of that the outro at the very end. And the song before this, Pray for Our Generation, while it is a really good little interlude, it's not one I'm going to visit a lot. It's just an a cappella little moment, but so yeah, I would say that's really like the only low point. Those two moments, that the end of Curse I kind of skip, and then Pray for Our Generation. If I'm listening to the album as a whole, I'll play it, but otherwise I skip it for me. Now for the highest highs section of the video. Best vocal performance will go to Full Fledged. I think Bishop does a really great job showing off his vocal capabilities on the first track here. Really shows you all that he's capable of, and I love his switch between his falsetto to a deeper, more menacing tone to his more natural tone, and he has really great control of his vocals, and it makes me super excited to see how he hones into that later on in his career. Best production will be for Focused. Am I partial to heavy bass funk inspired tracks? Yes. But that doesn't mean that this isn't the best instrumental in my opinion. I just think that the switch in the second half is phenomenal and really complements Bishop's vocals so much, and I'd love to see him do more of this really funk, bass heavy sort of track in the future. I think it just pairs really well for what he does, and I think it fits his just whole ambiance and his personality really well. Best songwriting is going to be Bad Influences from My Uncle. Ironically, I think that the song with the least amount of songwriting or storytelling is the best. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean the fact of we kind of just get Bishop telling a very just truthful story, and I think that in this moment of anger and passion, he's not purposely trying to tell this like moral of a story or anything. He's just telling a true event, and he's telling it with all of his raw emotions, and the way that it just comes across to me is perfect, and it really rings with you when you hear it. My favorite line or bar is going to be from Full Fledged, and it is victim of a genocide but brothers ride, but why we die I don't really know, but I'ma still load up and hop out and lay you down. I don't really know, but I'm full fledged with it. Yeah, as I did talk about this earlier, and why I like the bar and what it means, that is my favorite one. While technically there aren't any features on the entire project, there are some performances by a singer by the name of Trinity Jefferson, who actually only has 3 credits, and it is just across this project. I think she really does a great job on the different moments that she appears on, and I'm not sure if she's just a friend of Bishop and this is why she's only like her only credits are on this album, but either way I would love to see her do more, either her doing solo material or to see her work with Bishop in the future. In the end, this has been one of my favorite projects to release this year. I've had it in very heavy rotation since I listened to it a couple months ago for the first time, and I would say that this is like a really good listen if you were into rap music. In the end though, this has really been one of my favorite albums to come out this year, and I have had it in super heavy rotation since I first listened to it, and I'm glad that I gave it a chance. I would put my enjoyment at an 86% for Generational Curse. This is very exciting fine for me, and I'm glad I gave Icecoldbishop a chance, and would highly recommend for people to check this one out. I think he has fantastic songwriting, and I think that his vocals are super thrilling and fun to get into. So yeah, that is the review. Thank you for watching. Check out my TikTok and Instagram for my random song suggestions. Please subscribe here for more. I will see you in the next review, and thank you for watching. Bye now.